connecting to the Methernet. Methernet now connected.
This is the Wally and Methot Show Live. Now, here are your hosts, Brent Wallace and Mark Methot.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wally and Methot Show Live. I'm Brent Wallace. He's Mark Methot. This show brought to you by sportsinteraction.com. Meth, how's the back? As we always seem to update your health conditions every time we begin a show. That doesn't look good.
Not very good today, Wally. Thank you for asking. A lot of muscle relaxers and Advil and exercises.
Okay. Well, if you need to leave, I will tell everybody the chat is open, so you may have to start throwing in questions for our guest today, and we'll fill in for Meth if he's gone. All right? As always, the Wally Methot Show brought to you by sportsinteraction.com. Go to sportsinteraction.com/Wally Methot for the most competitive live daily odds. Sports Interaction is Canada's leading sportsbook. Sign up today, get a 100% welcome bonus up to $500 on either the sportsbook or the casino side. And Meth, in case you're struggling, we're going to get right to our guest today. And that's brought to you, as always, by Whitewater, the cool, refreshing taste of Whitewater beer. Try the tasty new flavor of Kiwi Lime Sour. You get it at the LCBO, but save 15%. Go order it online at shopwhitewater.ca. Use the Wham-Funky Fresh code and redeem it for anything, actually, at the Whitewater shop. Whitewater, brewed by friends, for friends, the official beer of the Hockey Hall of Fame. And now for our guest. By the way, it is episode 99, and so we wanted to bring on Wayne Gretzky, but we couldn't. So instead, we got a guy who played for Wayne Gretzky, and that is Mike Johnson from TSN. Sir, welcome to the show.
Yeah, a very close second place to Wayne. I can come on and tell you Wayne's stories about him as a coach or when he played with me. I'll tell you, before we get going, Meth, I'll get into your back in a second, but here's my first Wayne story for the day, all right? So I'm playing in Arizona. It's like 02, 03 or something. It's training camp. And Gretz used to come around occasionally. This is before he was the coach. He was like the managing partner or something. And he'd bring his gear on the road. He'd go out there and play like after practice 3-on-3 or, tee up slap shots from the hash marks, hit goalies in the head and think nothing of it. And so also we get to training camp in like 03, I think the year before the lockout. And like he's like doing practices. We're like, okay, I mean, it's Wayne Gretzky. He can do whatever he wants. It's his team. So we're like delighted to have him on 2-on-1s with Gretz. Who cares? And all of a sudden we come to our, whatever it's called, red and white game. And he's playing in the game. Like it's the game with people trying to make the team. And he's playing with like Claude Lemieux and Landon Wilson, two guys that are on the team. Like he's not playing. And we're all kind of scratching our head like, is he coming back? What is happening right now? And so apparently he was thinking about making a comeback. And he was like kind of gauging his health and his fitness and his back's health and how it would deal with it. So we're playing the red-white inter-squad game. And he's crisscrossing with Landon Wilson. Willie was like a 240-pound big guy on the same team. And they ran into each other. That was the last we ever saw Gretz in a uniform ever. He never came back on the ice and equipment again. He's like he was in traction for like 2 weeks because his back was so messed up from bumping into his own guys. So that's my awesome Wayne Gretzky and my Mark Methot back story. And one other one, Matt, I don't know what's wrong with your back, but we've all kind of dealt with it. I was going through the playoffs one year, calling playoff games, and my back, whatever, SI joints, I'm all bent out of shape, and I couldn't sit. I couldn't sit down, and I would call games like on my knees with my hands up on the desk because I couldn't bend at my waist. And in between periods, I remember in San Jose, I was doing the playoffs, and I would have to lie on the ground to try to alleviate the pain I'm trying to call some double overtime games. So it sucks when you got a bad back. It's the worst. So I hope you get better.
Yeah. Thanks, brother.
I thought you were going to say that was the last we saw of Landon Wilson, because that would have been the best part.
Well, like we of course were teasing about that. Like, Willie, I mean, just punch your ticket to Springfield, whoever the hell the minor league team was. But but the best part about the scrimmage is prior to getting hurt, I think he had 3 assists, but he was on for 5 goals against. Like he couldn't stop anyone, but no one was going to get near him. But he was throwing, And like you watch him play, and this is the brilliance of Gretz. I mean, this is obviously Gretz 4 years removed from retiring. And like he throws, like he go around the net and he throws like a junky, wobbly muffin, like back up the slot. You're like, that's the worst pass I've ever seen. And it would bounce over someone's stick and land right on his guy's tape. Like time and again, you're like, I don't even know if that's a good pass. It just seems so lucky every single time. But he was money still 4 years later. He was awesome passing.
How is he, Johnny? How is he moving? Was his movement okay?
It was okay. Well, not great. Not great.
Okay.
I mean, he's obviously dealing with the back thing. He was in decent shape, like physically, like, you know, he wasn't overweight or anything like that. He could still turn. He just couldn't go fast. You know what I mean? Like he would still stop and turn and pivot. But of course, we're also unaware of this, thinking this, like we don't even know he's trying to make the team. Like we just think our owner is playing with us. So like no one's really checking him that hard, because why would you? So I don't know if I could have caught him. I'm like, whatever, I guess I'll just let you go and you can have it. But
that's great.
But he could turn still, and he couldn't shoot. Like I have a bad shot, admittedly on record, terrible shot in the NHL, but his was awful. But all he wanted to take was slappers, and so we'd be doing like a warm up drill, like like whatever, down 3 lines down, and he would take it all the way to the hash marks, and every single one, he would not shoot anywhere but. And like I remember poor Zach Burke, who's the goalie coach now for Ottawa, and Zach would go down there and he would get pinged one after another. And like when you hit someone up high, you go tap his pad. Sorry about that. The next 10 are gonna go at his ankles. Not the case. Gretz is in the corner laughing. He's like, "That's what you got the gear on for. Next one's coming up top too." And he would every single time. Gretz was awesome having him around. Like whether it's the coach, owner, it was great having him around.
That's great. Yeah, you don't hear Gretzky stories ever. Like, well, at least you hear a ton of them, but not personal ones like that. So that was great.
Well, guys don't like to talk.
Well, yeah, it's a thing, right? You don't want to talk out of school about Gretz. Yeah.
Yeah. So, did he ever chirp you as a coach?
Oh yeah. God, yeah. Like. So I remember my second game there, I separated my shoulder. So I was not playing for like 2 weeks. So Gretz was the 5th line centerman, maybe the 6th line. It was me, Sweet Lou DeBrusque, and Gretz. We're the 6th line in practice as we were trying to get Pally healthy. And Gretz would like throw it over to Lou and be like, and then Lou would go and do whatever he does with it. And Gretz would be like, "Listen, Louie, if I give you the puck, that's on me. That's a bad decision by me." And Louis just like, man. So like, I mean, what are you gonna say? Or the all-time one, and this is like very relatable that everyone would think. So he's our coach at this point. Our goalie coach is Grant Fuhr. Our power play coach is Paul Coffey. Our assistant coach is Rick Tocchet. Like we got like a Hall of Fame player group of coaches. So we're having just a light, loose skate. And they're barely on the ice. I don't know what they're doing the night before, but they're like just kind of like whatever, just stretching it out. So like, all right, guys, we're going to do 3-on-1s until we score 8 goals, which for the Oilers would mean 8 times, right? But so we start going, and Meth, you can appreciate the defensive side of this too. So like the defensemen start trying to just screw they're just trying to kill the forwards, like trying to make us look as bad as possible. And after like 15 or 20, it becomes a thing. Like, God. Like, how long can they possibly go? And we're on the bench. You go down 3-on-1 to the bench. Pick it up 4 lines later, down 3-on-1. And we come back to the bench, and Gretz would be sitting there with Koff in the corner, just like, can you believe this? What the hell is this? What can you? And we're just like, we're right here, Wayne. Like, we can hear you. And like, it's just, but what are you going to say? Because this world, that's not how things work.
Yeah. Wow.
So good. Before we move on to the Sens, and we'll just tie it in with Phoenix right now, what are your thoughts on them playing in a 5,000-seat arena?
So, I mean, it's a bad look because it's the NHL. There's something grand about the NHL, something big. When you step on the ice, it feels big and important, and there's a big stadium and lots of people. And I get there's not a lot of people out there, and trust me, I get the financial implications of playing in Glendale, the lease, and all of it. Like, I do understand that. I think it will be okay. Visiting teams, no problem. They're going to stay in Tempe on Mill Street, which is down the street from Arizona State University. Awesome spot. They got a great new hotel there. They don't care. They're there for 1 or 2 games. It's like a kind of neat, cool one-off. It's like an outdoor game or whatever.
Right.
Craft Hockeyville game. They don't have to do it every day. And the players are like, okay, you know what? It's more convenient for our lifestyles. We can drive. It's closer. And for the first 20 or 30 games, it probably will be okay as well because it'll be sold out. You're like, it's buzzing. We can go down to the Tempe. But after, this is going to be like a 4-year thing. Like year 2, you're like, okay, you know what? I'd like to play in front of 7,000 people or maybe 10,000 people. How does that sound? So, I understand there are no good solutions or else they wouldn't be there. Road teams probably won't have a problem with it, but eventually it will grow stale for the home team.
What happens if they don't sell it out?
I mean, they go buck a beer night and give to college kids. I don't know. It's just like, the idea is like they should be able to generate about the same amount of revenue because if there's 8,000 paid or papered attendances, people in Glendale, and the tickets are whatever, $30, you can you half that, but you make the tickets worth $60. It's the same revenue off tickets. I guess their thought is, well, if we can get 5,000 people and everyone pays $100 a ticket, we can upsell it and get our core fans charge a bit more. Maybe our revenues won't be hit. I'm sure that was the sales pitch to the Players Association. We have to sign off on this. But I 40 and it's 5,000 people. I think with hockey it's gonna be like 46. Like Bowling Green held 5,200. London Knights, they hold like 10,000. It's an amazing
just shy of 10.
Right. It would be like playing in London without the upper bowl in the NHL. It's just not normal.
Yeah, it's weird.
It'll be interesting to watch. I don't know what the answer is, but they've got to figure it out. Before we get to the Sens, quickly.
Let me tell you. Hang on though. I want to call a game there. Like send me down to Tempe. I want to go on Mill Street. Sign me up. I am all for it as a broadcaster or even as a fan. But
I feel like for a media guy, it's perfect, right? Like whether you're the play-by-play guy up top or even Johnny, even you don't even need to be between the benches. You'll have such a great vantage point right there.
Be beautiful. Well, listen, Matt, you're listen. You know what it's like to be a color guy. You're a burdening color guy. You do everything now, apparently.
Yeah,
Amazing, this guy.
Junior. They're not. It's not very sexy when you're in Hamilton. No offense to Hamilton natives, of course. Anyway, we'll leave it at that.
I made a reference about traveling around and whether you go to famous cities. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's like you could wherever you are. You could be in Paris. You might as well be in Sudbury. They all feel the same.
True.
No disrespect to people from Sudbury. I was like, no, you could be in Scarborough. I'm from Scarborough. What am I going to say?
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. And especially when you're on the road night in, night out, it's rink, hotel, and a Starbucks or a restaurant around the corner. Yeah. Anyway, before we get to all the news with the Senators, one of our sponsors, BEI, Bonisher Excavating Inc. Spring just around the corner. That means time to start landscaping. Get your landscaping needs from them. Stone, aggregate, thinking of redoing the driveway. Bonisher Excavating here to help. Competitive pricing on all your landscape needs. 613-432-1120 or go to bonisherexcavating.com, helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. Okay, here we go with some Sens talk because you're dialed in, Mike Johnson, as is our good man, Mark Methot. Sanderson signs his deal. He's coming to Ottawa. We don't know when or if he's going to play by the end of the year. What should Jake Sanderson be doing? Should he end up starting in the AHL, or is he just is it just what he should be is in the NHL and around everybody else?
Yep. I don't even know exactly what's going on with his health. So obviously you're going to wait for him you're not going to put him in a spot where he's if his groin sore, his elbow, get him healthy. But he's not going to play in the American League. I'm sorry. If he plays in the American League, then something's gone wrong. For all the hype about this kid and as talented as he is, there's no reason. And I never played in the minors. So I came out of college. I was 2 years older than Jake is now, but I stepped in the NHL and I played. And I was, I guess, good enough to stay there. He is way better than I will ever be. So, and the Sens are not good on defense. So no, absolutely. So once he's healthy in the lineup, force feed him 23 minutes. I want him on the power play. I don't care who he plays with, any of those veteran right-handed guys, but I don't care. Let's see what he has. And whether he sinks or swims, however it goes, it doesn't even matter this year. That's the beauty of this year. He can be minus 20 in 15 games. It does not matter. Whatever he experiences this year, on the ice, off the ice, in the room, around the rink, it's only going to make him better next fall. And that's what this next month is all about. Next fall. So, Matt, I don't know what you think, but I'm get him healthy and get him in and play him a ton.
Totally agree. I totally agree. I've been saying this since day one too. And the only part of me that disagrees with it is just the confidence issue. But I don't see it going bad. I mean, with the praise he's been getting, the type of player he is, people are even talking about his ability away from the puck. Like, I'm not going to pretend like I've been sitting at home watching Jake Sanderson play all year. So I watched a couple clips, some highlights. I get a good sense of where he's at, but it's hard. Like, I never played college either. So it's hard to kind of picture what he'll look like at the NHL level with men and whatnot. But it sounds like he's a special player. And I'm with you. I think if you have an opportunity to insert him now, like, you look at the lineup, I mean, it's pretty easy to insert him, right? Like, I don't see that being an issue. My only thing was the confidence thing, but you can gauge that over the course of a few games and see where he's at. And you can always protect him a little and put him with a really good complementary player. But I'm with you, Johnny. Like, I say this to Mendez on the last show. I'd like to argue with you on that point, but I mean, I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, and like, he's good enough that confidence, like, he carries himself, and you'll see when he gets there. Like, he plays with a confidence that, I'm good. And so, like, he might get scored on. He might get knocked over. Like, it's not going to be a thing. And it's only, like, by the time he gets here and gets healthy, it's only going to be 10 games. Like, how much damage can be done? And I know just personally, like, just knowing the guys, knowing the trainers, where to go in the city, how to walk into the dressing room and feel like you belong there as opposed to tip. It is so big because he has to play a big role next year. It's not even an option. If, like, he has to be a good player. So if you can kind of lay the groundwork, and the results on the ice are good, but it's almost secondary to just becoming familiar with the group. And as great of an athlete as you are, and his dad's an NHL and all the rest of it, like, there's still that human element. Like, it's the first day of school and I'm the new kid and I don't know anyone. And that's uncomfortable for just about anybody in the world. So I think getting that out of the way. Yeah. So I'm excited to watch him. I want him to get healthy and then see what he can do. Get him. I mean, I don't know if Shabbat's going to be back, but, you line up Shabbat, and then you put Sanderson after him, and then you figure out, I guess, Holden on the third pair, whatever it might be. Like, give me something to work with. Like, what are we looking at next year? Because we've heard about the stinking top four defense for 2 years. And, like, maybe it's kind of rounding into form. We'll see, but we got to see it in action.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, and I guess this is a question, and I don't want to put you on the spot because I know you cover just about every other friggin' team in the league, so to get into specifics can be challenging. But if Craig or Alex can pull that board back up, Johnny, what would you do if you have Sanderson in that top four next season? I guess so. There it is, right there. Do you feel like the team needs to go after another guy or of any sorts? Like, I'm not going to say they need another stay-at-home guy or an offensive guy. Do you see them feeling the pressure to pick up another player this summer?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two pieces they have to get. And I think Hamonic's actually been pretty good. Give him credit. He's kind of played the way that you hope that he would play. And, like, steady Eddie and pretty solid. And he brings everything he has into every battle. But, I mean, if you could get a better top four defenseman, and I know it's hard financially because now they have Zub and Hamonic and Zaitsev. Those guys make $10 million between them. So, like, it's going to be hard to knock one of those guys out of the lineup. But, like, ideally, if you had another player better in the top four to play on the right side to help Jake Sanderson along, I think that is a need. Because I know Sanderson and Hamonic, Henderson and Zaitsev, like, is that the second pair of a playoff team? Which is what Ottawa really wants to be next year. Yeah. I wonder about that. And then, of course, you guys have it right there. I mean, second spot, left wing. Like, and I don't know if it's a left winger and Brown plays on the right side, because Brown's on like a 60-point pace this year very quietly.
Yes,
doesn't score as much, but, like, does a lot of things. Piles up 55, 60 points. Like, that's a second liner. Or is it Formanton, second line, Brown, third line, and then kind of see what, you need another top six winger. You need a top six winger desperately. And I don't, like, if you can go get Kevin Fiala out of Minnesota because they can't afford him, yes, go do that. Something like that. But, like, not just a guy who's Matthew Joseph, good NHL player, could play in the third line. You need someone established. Those are two very clear spots of need. And I think the organization knows this. I'm not saying anything they don't already recognize. They're scouring, and I'm not talking college free agents. It's got to be someone who can be a difference maker in your top six.
Yeah. Okay. And so just really quickly, my last question, because I'm an idiot when it comes to the numbers and the salary cap and internal budgets. Because you mentioned on defense with Zaitsev and Delzato, what was the other contract they're probably trying to get rid of? I don't know what they're going to do with Hamonic. I'm assuming. So
You're talking
when you've got
Brandstrom?
that much tied up into like a 4, 5, 6 type player on the back end, what are the team's options? Like they're not, because I can't imagine Ottawa's just going to buy them out. So what do they do?
Michael Delzato's in the minors, so he makes $1.5 million or whatever it is. So you can sink $1.1 million in the minors, and the cap hit is only $400,000. The cap hit's not important next year, anyways. Ottawa's not going to be a cap team next year, right? Like I don't think so.
No, of course not.
So they have a little bit of time.
Chance.
I mean, it's actual dollars matter. Like they don't want to pay a guy $1.5 million to play in the minors.
Exactly.
Right? They don't want to pay a guy $4.5 million if you're Zaitsev and not be in the lineup. Like that's not how Ottawa operates. Like they don't have that kind of financial heft to just kind of, well, it's okay, park it, whatever. If our team's better because of it, like that's not how they work. So they don't have a lot of options. Like you can buy out Colin White because he's at the age that if you're 26 and under, it's 1 year contract. If you're over 26, it is 2/3 year contract. And this summer is the year he crosses that threshold. So if they're going to buy him out, it's got to be this summer because it's going to cost them a lot less. I don't know what their options are on back end, Matt. I mean,
fair enough.
Trade with a sweetener, offer up a second, third round pick, take them off our hands. Arizona needs to get to the salary cap floor, so they might be willing to take on a salary to try to get up there. I mean, there are ways to manipulate it, but it's not going to be easy, and it would be easier just to go with the 3 guys that are there. Zub, Zaitsev, Hamonic. There's your right side. Shabbat, Sanderson, Holden. There's your left side. And then the other guys all just mix around and go to the minors or whatever happens to them. But that's probably not a playoff caliber defense.
So then is it safe to say that the team's not necessarily under the gun then next year and they just stick with those 3 guys and see the progress of all the younger players, or are they just completely desperate to make the postseason? It's a tough one.
That's their decision. I think so. I guess I would say this, Matt. They are desperate to make progress because this year was supposed to be progress, right?
Fair.
This year, this time of the year, they were supposed to be in 9th or 10th place and kind of pecking away at maybe the outskirts of the playoffs. And it wasn't that. They've been done for 3 months. That is what has to change. They can't be last place at December and have another 4 months of garbage time. It cannot happen. So that matters. And that matters for the guys on the ice, for the development, for the future. It matters financially because I think like Saturday night was awesome in Ottawa. Great crowd, energy, with like money coming into the tills, like that. They need that. They need that. So the salary cap, they don't have to make any changes. They can go with as is, as you put up on that board there. But I think hockey-wise, maybe business-wise, they would be inclined to want to tweak when they can.
Fair enough.
And I want to get to salaries in a sec. And that kind of, I'll start with Josh Norris, and then I'll circle back to how do they pay for all these people, is Josh Norris's contract, whatever it is, I think is going to be somewhat massive. Like Nick Suzuki's the guy that always makes me want to compare him to him. And I don't even know if that's fair because Josh Norris may score 30 goals this year, $7.8 million. So Johnny, where does Josh Norris fit? Like, what are they going to have to pay for Josh Norris?
So if you're Josh Norris right now, you want to know what your life is like? Okay, so it's not a big stretch here. So, and your board right there is like he's not as good as Pettersson was prior to Pettersson's contract. He's not Pettersson. I understand the dollar amount, but a 3-year term is an entirely different thing than a 7 or 8 year term. If I'm Josh Norris,
right, and the only reason I put him there, is that he's a 30 goal scorer from that draft. He's the only other guy from that draft to score 30 goals.
He's Pettersson's best is probably better than Josh Norris's best. Like I think Pettersson is, and the term just skews everything. It's apples to oranges. If I'm Josh Norris, I walk and say, okay, Nick Suzuki, look at his numbers, look at my numbers. They're pretty similar points wise. I'm a much better goal scorer. I deserve more money than him. Ottawa will say, Nick Suzuki was really good in a playoff run to the final. He deserves more than you. Okay, well we can kind of leave that at wash. Josh Norris could also make an argument. He's really good defensively. He's actually much better than I anticipated defensively. So Suzuki is a very good and close comparable. The only difference might be is that Suzuki is going to be the face of the franchise. They're going to build around him, and Josh is going to be one of the pieces of the franchise. He's not the face. But that doesn't matter with negotiations as far as like numbers, but there is something intangible there. So you can draw a very close comparable to Suzuki. And quite frankly, the easiest one to draw is to Brady. Like he's produced better than Brady. He scores better than Brady. He is a significantly better defensive player than Brady. He plays a more important position than Brady. Now, what does he not do? The kind of emotional physicality, leadership.
Right.
I think there's also something important about Brady committing to Ottawa and staying there long term. So like there is that. But I think you could make a pretty easy case that he deserves more than Brady. And Brady hits more, and I understand he's tougher and all those things, and he's the captain, but like, he deserves every bit. Like Brady, as much as I love Brady Tkachuk, he's not a very good defensive player. He's not. Josh is.
That's agreed.
Is much better than Brady Tkachuk is. So yeah. So if you want 8 years, conservatively, $60 million, 7.5 a year. That's the contract.
I just lost your mic, and you just said.
Yeah, I cut out. He cut right out at the money.
Oh,
at the money part.
Right at the number.
There he is.
No.
Okay. So wait, what was the term in dollars that you think is fair?
I said if you want a contract, if you're Josh Norris, 8 years, $60 million, 7.5 a year. That's where you go. That's what he deserves.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's not pushing it. That's like, yeah, that's comfortably.
That seems fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but that's $20.5 million roughly on your first line. Plus, you've got Tim Stützle to sign. You've got Alex Formenton. You've Thomas Chabot's locked up for $8 million. You're going to have to re-sign Zub here shortly. Like, they can't afford everybody. So who's leaving?
So when you say they can't afford someone, does that mean under the $83 million cap, or because they just don't have the money to pay everyone? They don't want to go to the cap.
Well,
I think you can.
Ottawa has
the latter.
Ottawa has that budget.
Right. If there's an internal budget that's 75, or 70 or 60, that's different. I don't know what that is. I deal with 83. That's how I run my teams. I go to the cap. That's how I work it. And yes, so like the problem. So what you need to do is, like any good team, the high-end guys are going to make the money. You try to get good value contracts on them. I think Batherson's a perfect example. They got on him early.
Yep.
That contract's going to be great. Zub is a fine defenseman. He's not going to make more than $5 million, right? No. Like, he just doesn't put up the points that warrant that. So he's going to get 4.6 or a Methot 4.7, like a nice juicy Methot-like contract. That's what he aspires to get. That's what we all aspire to get. That's what he's going to get. But what you can't have any dead money. So Del Zatos and guys, can't have guys out of your lineup making $2 million. And you can't have, like, who's leaving? Chris Tierney's gone. Colin White might be gone, right? There goes $8.25 million.
Good point.
Right? You replace them with Pinto, who makes $1 million on an entry-level deal. You're probably going to add another top 6 guy who's going to cost you some money. I'm not really worried about it. I don't love $5 million on the third pair either. Like, I don't, those are the nines that you can't have that much money. You don't need a $9 million third line, not unless they're scoring like Tampa's did. So, like, the top end guys aren't the issue. Like, it's a slight overpay for the lower end guys. To me, if I'm running a team, that's where you got to look to. And Tierney, I don't think will be back. I think he's a UFA. Colin White, question mark. They probably would prefer him not to be back. That's how you clear out your money.
Yeah, but I mean, goaltending, they still got 11 million somewhere. Like, that's a lot of money they've got tied up on the back end as well. Plus, Gustafsson is on a one-way deal, he's on a one-way deal. I don't know if he ends up in the minors, if he clears waivers. Like, there's a lot of question marks. I just don't think, as an internal budget team, they can continue to afford all these players. And I know you just pointed out names, but I just think Tim Stützle is going to ask for a lot of money, and Jake Sanderson at one point in a couple of years, I know it's an RFA deal, still ask for a lot of money. Like, it just seems there's so many high-end guys, they're not going to be able to keep them all.
Okay, so here you go. If that's the case, Josh, we love you. We can't go long term with you. So you get a bridge deal for 2 years, and it's $11 million. There you go. You just save yourself $2.5 million a year off a bridge deal. Like, you string it out longer, because the cap is going up $1 million next year. We'll go up more after that. The cap will start going up. Ideally, the team gets better. Fans come in. Revenues go up. You're more comfortable paying right to the cap. I love Connor. I think Connor Brown is a tremendous player. Like, I don't want to lose Connor Brown off my team at all. They made a tough decision. I will give them credit. Like, I think not giving Nick Paul 4 years and $12 or $13 million is probably the right decision. Like, I really do believe that. You got to find a guy who can do what he does for $1 million or $1.5 million. I'd like Connor Brown to anchor my second or third line. I'd like that stability. So I don't know. I don't know if that's I don't want to get rid of him. That's the issue.
He leads your usually all forwards in ice time every year. So I think he's, and you can tell me, I think he's completely, I'll say underrated. And I know he can score 20 goals a season. He just doesn't seem to get the love as a top 6 player.
He doesn't have sexy skills. The brain's not sexy, right? Like people want big guys, big shots, big hits, and he just like does right things. Like, oh, look at his good positioning. I like that guy. I want to play like nobody cares about, look at his active stick. Isn't that nice? Like nobody cares about
Good
that.
point.
But coaches care.
Yeah.
The scoreboard cares, and your teammates care, and that probably matters more.
Well
fair enough. What would you do with Matt Murray, by the way?
What can you do? I mean, this is where, and that is far from ideal, right? Like most good teams have $7 million allocated to goaltenders, 6 or 7, like a $6 million starter and $1 million backup. 7, like, they don't have 11, and they don't have 11 on questionable goaltending, right? The Murray thing is a real situation for Ottawa. It's out of their hands because I don't think they want to buy him out because it's just going to cost so much money. They just kind of have to hope he gets healthy, stays healthy, and plays well, and then you have this duo, and it's maybe slightly overpriced, but what are you going to do? Or, and I don't wish this on anyone, but if, financially, if Matt Murray was not able to play, that might help them financially. I don't think that's going to be the case, though, because whatever's ailing him is not going to stop him from playing next fall. So that is a kicker, absolutely, Wally, and there is no easy solution. I don't have a good solution for that one. You can trade Forsberg again, I guess. If he gets healthy and gets great, you can trade Forsberg on that contract, but you're rolling the dice.
And that's what I've said. Like, Forsberg's numbers are really good. His contract, I don't think, is really out of control high. I think if you are a building team, you can bring that contract in for sure. Analytics is one of those things I want to ask you about, and that is you are a very progressive guy. You look at the numbers, you break it down probably better than most I've seen of analysts. What analytics numbers do you use, and what don't mean anything to you? Because you played the game, so you can understand it from both sides of how it all breaks down.
Well, there is no magical number, right? Like it's a mosaic of a lot of different pieces of information, right? It's like, I look at all the numbers, I watch all the games, I put it all together in this kind of cauldron and I come up with whatever I come up with. But when I look at the numbers, without going too deep into the weeds, which we could get into for hours here, and Meth would go fully asleep, his back would feel great.
Correct.
But I look at shot share, like that Corsi 4 number, that has generally been an indicative of future success. So the teams that control 54, 55% of those shots, those are the best teams in the league. When you're down around 45, that's a problem, a 5-on-5 play. So I look at that one because it's a good predictor of future success. I look at expected goals share because it does smooth out for bad goaltending. Or a team like Ottawa is like, well, our goals are terrible, but like, what are we doing expected wise? Same thing with the Rangers. They have a good number there in their actual goals differential, but what about their expected goals? Because their goalie's so good. So that, I like expected goals for, expected goals against, and the percentage wise. Again, you look at the top teams, their expected goals, if they get them 54, 55, best teams in the league. You get 45, 46, those are the teams at the bottom of the league. I look at those ones for sure as a kind of a baseline before I start digging a little deeper and kind of evaluating teams. But those ones kind of give me a pretty good idea who's pretty good.
So what, I guess, analytics don't measure up for you? Because the one thing about the game is it's fluid, right? It's always moving. Like there's so many pieces that it's just not easy as cut and dry like a baseball type statistic or NFL, to me anyway.
Yeah, so I've always trying to best understand good defensive players. So if you don't score, like how do I evaluate that Mark Methot's a good defensive player? How do I evaluate that Connor Brown's a good defensive player? Like what is it about, like what numbers? So then you got to go deeper. Like, okay, you can talk about some of the expected goals against when they're on the ice or actual goals against when they're on the ice. Is that lower than the rest of their team? And a lot of that has to, again, become relative to their teammates, right? Because they're playing, a third liner on Colorado is going to have a better expected goal number than the first liner on Ottawa. But that's because he plays for a much better team. So you got to smooth out some of these these reasons. But I always like trying to identify and evaluate quality defense and how that impacts yourself, your line mates, and the game. That is tricky to do because it is so fluid. And, I could do my job perfectly, especially as a winger. God, I could do absolutely nothing wrong. And whatever happens down on my own end is almost unrelated to what I've got going on hanging around the slot. So I find trying to dig into those numbers, you have to dig deep. You have to watch. You have to know to add more bits of information there because it's tricky. It's hard.
I've got some other outside the box questions or just outside the Ottawa Senators. That's Leon Draisaitl the other day had 4 points, hat trick, and was -4, which was the first time since someone's done that since 1983 and John Anderson. As a player, how tough is that actually to do?
It feels like it's impossible. Well, I actually, you know what? No, because he got all his points in the power play, right? He got all his goals. He got 3 of his 4 goals in the power play. So I guess you were on for 4 goals against, 5 goals against. It's hard to do, but it's not impossible. I remember one time, I think New Year's Day, year 2000, we had a good night. The Sabres did not. They beat us 8-1. I think Brian Berard was -6. Like, it can happen. It can happen. That's not that outrageous. But usually you don't score goals. Like, once you start scoring, you're into the game, which means you play better defense 5-on-5. What's more impressive? 9 goals, even strength by Calgary. You know how hard that is in the NHL today? 9
Very
even
impressive.
strength goals. That's impossible. More impressive than Draisaitl. And a little footnote, John Anderson has a burger joint, John Anderson Burgers, near where I grew up. Top shelf Scarborough burger joint, John Anderson. From the John Anderson.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've never been there, but I have heard that it's a very good joint to go to. So while we're talking about goals, if I looked this up today, since 1995-96, this season I think it is the highest goals per game in the National Hockey League. There's only been 4 seasons of over 3, and they all seem now to be of late. What is changing with the National Hockey League that's allowing the goals to come up? And I will point out, last night, 53 goals scored in 8 games, which is averaging over 6 goals per game. Are we seeing something
Detroit Red Wings
or what?
Detroit gives up like 7 a night right now. I mean, that's unbelievable. Yeah. I think I was looking at the numbers earlier. Detroit has the highest goals against since the lockout. Like, no team has ever, like, I think in the last 25 years, I think it's only Atlanta, as bad as they were, that had higher goals against. So what's going on? Skill development. I think there's no question that everybody is more talented. Like, the players are better, and like skills coaches are teaching them how to shoot and how to handle and how to create opportunities that we were left to try to figure out by ourselves. And the better players figured it out better than the less good players. But now everyone's get it. Every team has their own coaches. Every guy has their own summer guy. So the players are generally better. I think there's no doubt, like, sticks matter. Like, the technology has changed the way hockey is played. The way guys can shoot the puck now, doesn't matter how, like, I could give Austin Matthews my old silver aluminum wood insert, and he would not be able to shoot the same. Like, he just couldn't do it. So, I think technology matters. I think as the game has gotten younger, it has gotten more offensive, because all the young guys remember when they were in junior and college in Europe, and even if they're on the 4th line, they're like, I was a scorer a year ago. Like, my mind is still tracking to score, not tracking to not give up goals. And generally speaking, the younger you are, you might be a better skater, faster, all the rest of it. You're less experienced at keeping pucks out of the net. There's a reason why the World Juniors are amazing, because young people make mistakes. They get caught up in games, they make mistakes. There's a little bit of that trickling into the NHL as the league has skewed younger. And I wonder, 32 teams, do we have goaltending depth through 32 teams? I don't know. Maybe the backups, maybe goalies 56 to whatever, 64, maybe not quite as strong. I put all that in, and we get good goals, which we love.
That's a good point, Johnny. And I think, because I'm not far removed from playing, I can tell you all your points are bang on. Another thing that I would add, my last 2 years in Dallas, especially even maybe in 2017 with the Sens, but particularly in 2018, 2019, I still remember being in net front in all those battles that I was so used to doing throughout my career. And all of a sudden, it's like a switch went off in 2018 after the run with the Sens. I'm in Dallas. I wasn't allowed to touch anybody anymore at net front. Like, box outs, stick work, cross checks at net front, all that shit. Wasn't allowed to do it. I was getting yelled at by every official every single time I was in front of my own net. So I feel like players now, they just have a little bit more time and space. They're not as nervous stepping foot around there. And of course, as you nailed it, technology, skill set, all these players are so good now that are coming into the league. It's not even funny.
Yeah. And too, I mean, I can hear the refs in my ear, Matt. That's enough. Watch your stick. That's enough, man.
Oh yeah.
I think the whole game, they be on you the whole game. And I think because of that, it's not just that guys are more comfortable. That is part of it. But I think the defense now, like, well, I can't do that. So how do I defend? So now so many defensemen, like, just front guys and basically try to, like, stop pucks from ever getting there because they can't figure out how to, like, tie up, box out, cross check, move them out of the way under the rules. So they just end up, blocking shots, fronting, and then you see once the puck gets in behind them, lots of opportunities there.
Yeah.
It's a different way to do it.
It was always a rule, but they just decided to really start enforcing it. Like I was getting calls now all of a sudden where I went from getting minimal amounts of PIMs to like, holy shit, I'm in the box again. So, and then eventually I just said, okay, I can't touch them. So I'm just going to, like, as you mentioned, you nailed it again. I had to get in front of shots. And then all of a sudden there's rebounds behind you and they're scoring a lot of goals. Right. So,
you lose your inside position and then you're done. So again, like I thought I was a good defensive player as a winger, but like I didn't have to play down around the front of the net. I'm like, I don't mind. Like, I like the battle. I don't like when defensemen just do this.
I agree with you.
Because because forwards can't really get away with that same pushback. Like if I turn around and cross check you in the back and knock you over, I most likely will get a penalty. So I don't mind the dig and the shove and the grapple.
Yeah, the pushing.
But I don't love just the reef. That's the one that I don't mind them calling more of.
Agreed. I agree with you. Yeah.
I want to fight out one more thing, and that is, you're going to find this funny. What's in a number? Jake Sanderson's going to wear number 85. I meant to bring this up earlier, and I totally forgot about it. Are you guys okay with a player wearing number 85? It just seems bizarre. Well, you can pick what you want. It's an odd number for me.
Big Matthew Perreault fan. Huge. I mean, why wouldn't you be? So, I don't know why. I will say this. I could care less. As a player, against them, with them, you like it? I don't care. It's what your cousin's birthday. It's you like Ocho Cinco. I don't care why you want 85. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I don't think you're cocky because you didn't take 3, like a stay-at-home defense. Like, I don't care. I don't care if that you think you're an offensive player or not. None of it matters. I don't care if you're Lou Lamoriello and Josh Hosang wants 66. 99. Don't wear 99.
Oh,
that's it.
Johnny, 66 should be untouchable. 66 is untouchable. Come on. Mario?
I'm with you, but if you want to take it on, I hear you. That's maybe the only kind of gray area other one.
Sure.
But like if you want to wear 97, what if you want to wear 87? Can no one wear 8? 8's going to be the greatest goal scorer in the history of a game. Like, I don't think, personally, it just doesn't bother me. Like, I don't think it's disrespectful. It's respectful. I like that guy. I want to play like him. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
If you can wear 9, if you're allowed to wear 9, I think 66 should be available.
That's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
So that's all.
Okay, wait. Before we let him go, I had a really important question to ask as well. The Will Smith, Chris Rock incident, Johnny, was that real or staged?
That was real. I'm sorry. That was real. I went full Zapruder film on it, and now it wasn't a punch. It was a slap. Okay. And he caught just the bottom 2 fingers. Like, he missed with about half his finger. So not full impact. And I saw one that said it was fixed because Chris Rock was like leaning forward.
Yeah, he was leaning forward.
He was laughing. He was laughing. That was a smile. That wasn't a clenched teeth. He was like, "What, are you gonna hit me? I'm on the Oscars. Like, what are you possibly going to touch me here?" Like, that's what he.
Right.
It's like me when I have a cage on and Methot tells me I want to kill him. I'll stick my hand like, "What are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do?" Because he can't do anything. And then he takes my mask off and punches me, and I'm like, "Oh, that's what you're gonna do." 100% real. I only wonder what the fallout is for Will Smith. Like, he's so lovable, and he like a complete asshole. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm all for sticking up for your spouse and I'm joking, poor taste. You don't get to go and hit somebody on national television. Like, that is never okay. This is not hockey.
Yeah.
This is not part of the culture of the Oscars. You don't get to wail off and then if you heard
agree.
keep my wife's name out your effing mouth, like
that was
either
that
it's
to
the
me
greatest
made it
acting
real.
of all time. That was like passion, like we're just two guys not happy with each other, like that kind of attitude. So I'm saying that was real. Crazy, but real.
And I will say this, because I know Wally's probably losing his mind right now that we're talking about this. I am proud, like, to see Chris Rock absorb that hit in front of millions of people that are watching, knowing that, and then just carrying on afterwards like nothing happened. I've got way more respect and newfound respect now for Chris Rock.
Strong chin is what you're saying. Although you could see, so I watched it many, many times. And so first of all, he was clearly rattled. Like, he had a hard time kind of getting back on track for 20 seconds.
Sure.
And you could see his comedian mind. Do I want to go back at him and like just carve him to shreds? Like, cause he almost said, I could go a lot of ways with this. Like, he was thinking like, do you want me to go make jokes about you and your, like, all of it? Cause there's a lot there, I guess. And he I'm gonna back off and let this one settle. But that was, I don't know. Like, have you guys go down the YouTube rabbit hole and like Google YouTube, like slapping contests? Have you seen those where people chalk up their hands and just wham? Yes. And like people get knocked right out from a slap? Like, it's no joke.
Yeah. And I think that's where Chris Rock is a little fortunate, because people tend to forget, like you saw Will Smith throw that. I mean, he trained to portray Muhammad Ali. Like, he knows how to throw a punch, and he's pretty efficient, and it was very athletic. Yeah. I'm just shocked he didn't knock him out. I'll leave it at that.
2 fingers. If he got full flush, if he went flush, it could have been trouble.
Agreed. Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Wally.
I'm just disappointed the whole thing happened, to be honest with you. I thought the joke was obviously in poor taste, and then I thought the
but if that offended you, and I know ridiculous. she's got alopecia, I believe, right? So I want to be clear. Yes. Like, I'm with you guys. Yeah. But did you guys see the Ricky Gervais monologue at the Golden Globes years back? It was way more aggressive, and no one went up on stage and knocked him out.
It's a different time. But it's a different time, and so that's all. Okay. Like, right now we're in a mess of a situation, it feels like, in the world, and so I would just say
this: Will Smith has been a comedian like in his entire 40-year career. Yes. Has he never carved somebody? Like, I'm sure you could like. I'm not going to spend the time, but I'm sure there was a moment where he was on a roast saying, whatever, Mark Methot, you're this, Mike, you're this. Like, I'm sure he said something, maybe not about someone's spouse, but whatever, mama joke, whatever. He roasted
Carlton. He roasted Carlton every friggin' episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for being short. Anyway,
it's a staple of the show.
All right. Perfect. Okay, I'm done.
All right. And with that, MJ, I guess we'll say goodbye. We appreciate your stopping by, and always I will catch you on TSN on everything you do, because you're doing everything. Plus, you're on TSN 1200 in the mornings. We appreciate you stopping by, as always, my friend.
All right, boys. Always a fun time to hang out. Matt, feel better. Relax, lie down, take it easy.
Thanks, MJ.
Guys. All right, see ya. There goes Johnny. By the way, we should, as I move on here with the Wally Methot Show, brought to you by sportsinteraction.com, is our guest for our 100th episode has already been lined up. It is Josh Norris. And I can confirm we did talk about his contract, albeit briefly. So that is on Thursday.
Awesome.
What?
Was that it? Were you teaming me up for a question there, Wally? That's great. No. That's
no. I just wanted to point out that
the timing. Well, no, but the timing of that is terrific too. I mean, he's been unbelievable for this team this year. I mean, really, all things considered, one of the big time bright spots in this group. So, really good guest to have on, and he's always got. He's just a positive guy, I find, right? Like, I can't imagine him having a bad day. Yeah.
No, that's the thing. So it'll be good to have him on. Lost it. Craig, I don't even know. Do we have the clip queued up of Josh Norris interview?
I think that's an Alex question, but I think so.
All right, let's play it.
Oh, not yet. I think we're doing it at the end.
Yeah. Damn it. We're at the
Wait
end of the
for
show. I should have just
Yeah, where are we
probably
going with
reversed
this?
this, I guess.
I could talk about the Oscars a little more if you guys like, just to kill
No,
some time.
no, that's why I'm asking for the clip.
Okay. Well, did
All right.
Did you watch any of it last night, Wally?
About 4 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. I bought us enough time.
Like-
roll the clip.
You have one NHL fight in your career that I have found anyway, with Alex Romanov, and you were angry and fed him. Was that the first time you've ever been in a hockey fight?
I got my first fight was in Belleville. It would have been like game 50 of 56 at the end of the year. But the one against Romanov was like the guy I fought in Belleville he was a lot smaller than me, so I didn't really count it. And then Romanov is like a big boy, so
Yeah.
I don't know what got into me there. I think it was more so like he was running around the whole year, and I felt like he never wanted to answer the bell, and it was just instinct, and I was like, we're going, and we just went, and it was a good tilt.
Did you surprise yourself with how you handled yourself in that one?
100%, absolutely. Did not think I had that in me, so it's nice to know that I have a little bit in the toolbox for to defend myself. So
it was very good. It's good. And if you didn't see Meth, that's because Meth couldn't get off the couch yesterday, which is when we recorded the interview.
Not good. But Wally, you're the man for taking care of that business. I will continue to address my back. Hopefully get back to normal for the following episode.
I'm coming over. I'm going to fix it. I think I can probably, I don't know, walk on it or something and fix it.
Yeah, I don't want you anywhere near my back. Like, with all due respect.
Well, that's what teammates do. They try to help out.
Yeah.
They were all at Bieber last night, by the way. The Sens were. Would you have gone to see Justin Bieber concert?
So I heard, and I have nothing against Justin Bieber. I love that he's Canadian. He's extremely successful. I feel the same way about The Weeknd or Drake. Like anybody who's Canadian, I will support. I don't care what genre the music is in. I'm not a Bieber listener. Obviously, I'm a metal head, so I'm the far end of the spectrum. But I heard the concert was it wasn't great. I heard it wasn't a great performance.
Oh.
I had another friend of mine who went there and he said it kind of sucked. So I don't know.
Oh, so you're not a believer.
But no, I shouldn't say that, because I prefaced it by saying that I do support Justin Bieber and I love that he's a hockey fan and it's good for the game. I think more importantly, if you're in the team, I'm assuming they were all in a box. That's just good for chemistry. Get all the guys out together, do something normal, which I'm sure they haven't done that much of over the past 2 years, right? Now all of a sudden they're in a public setting. They can smash some beers together or vodka sodas if you're staying light, and have a good time together. It's always good for chemistry. So I'm happy the team did that.
So what's the best of team function of all the? So you got the rookie party, you got Halloween, Christmas, year end, and then
Rookie
you get these
party.
type concerts. By far?
Yeah, because it's just the guys. There's no wives there, and I love getting together with the wives. Don't get me wrong, that's fun too. But when it's just concentrated with the boys, you're all just talking to each other. That's it. And my favorite part wasn't going out after. Like, for me, it was the dinner. You're eating ridiculously good food. You're ordering whatever you want off the menu, and the rookies are paying for it, but you're all sitting together at the table. Some guys are being idiots trying to shoe check each other. You're ordering good wine. You're telling jokes. That's the one thing that I miss most about playing. It's probably the rookie parties and getting on the road with the players.
Have you ever been shoe checked? And can you explain what shoe checking is to people that may
Yeah.
not?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, so if you're in a large group and there's multiple tables, typically you need at least one large table where there's at least 6, 7, 8 guys. And it's typically a player will grab a knife or a fork, grab a chunk of butter or a sauce. Usually it's butter, and they go under the table and they'll scrape it on top of someone's shoe without them knowing it, and then crawling their way back to their seat while that person is distracted. Once the player gets back up into their chair, everyone grabs a fork and starts clinging up against their glass. And it's just a very embarrassing moment for the individual that got shoe checked. Some guys don't take it very well. The key to the
No.
shoe check is to act unfazed and just laugh it off. Just suck in your tears and laugh about it, and you're going to be just fine. But the odd person is visibly upset, and that only sets them up for more shoe checks in the future.
So, one, there's like some expensive pairs of shoes I've known have gotten ruined because of whatever the sauces they put on it. So that's when I find players not necessarily take it so well. But Aaron Ward,
go ahead.
I was going to say Aaron Ward did it to one of the production staff on TSN, and they had to be separated in the restaurant. It got very heated.
Well, okay, but here's an example of something like this. It's a foul if you go down there with like cocktail sauce or ketchup on your fork and you're getting some guy's sneakers where it just absorbs into the material and ruins the shoe. Then there's an argument there, because to me that's ignorant. You just don't do that. Some guys would disagree with me and be like, "Oh, come on." But I mean, I look at the amount that individual spent on their shoes and I'm thinking like that's gutless. But and I don't know what Wardo did. I can't comment on what Aaron did because I don't know the sauce he was using. But it's happened to me where someone I think used a ketchup when I was in the American League, and I didn't like that because it ruined my shoes. But I still had to suck it up and act unfazed because I didn't want to be a target again moving forward.
Who was it?
You know what, Chris? It happened one night to Chris Neal. I mean, I've seen a million of them go down, but I do remember Chris Neal getting shoe checked. And I forget if it was Smitty, it could have been Carl. I forget the player that was doing it, but Nealer grabbed it like it was like a pitcher of water or something and poured it on him. You know, like he was pissed, and he may have even punched the guy. So you run the risk, right? Like it's that much funnier if you can get a guy like Nealer, but it comes at a cost if you get caught, right? And if you're willing to pay the price, you know.
So who's the next guy that's going to shoe check Chris Neal?
Well, that's it, right? So if you see the end result of what happens when you shoe check Chris Neal, you're probably not very inclined to do it next. So I can understand Nealer's thought process in that I'm just going to kill this guy. But, it usually doesn't work out well that way because you're just opening the door for more pranks. When guys know they can get a rise out of you, especially in hockey or other sports, because I can't speak about office environments and stuff because usually HR, I would assume, would get called. But in a locker room, there's a lot of offside stuff that goes around. And I'm assuming it's still sort of prevalent. I'm sure it's been mitigated a little in today's landscape, but yeah, it can get pretty rough.
Okay, so which player, and you can go to Dallas or Columbus and Ottawa, was the easiest to get under their skin?
Well, the easiest to get under their skin would be a guy like Nealer, obviously. But the best shoe checker would have been Zach Smith. Smitty and even Pager, I'm willing to say, Peugeot was pretty good at it too. But these guys were veterans, still getting down on their knees. Like typically, you get the rookie to do it. Like there could be a rookie sitting beside you and be like, "Hey, go shoe check so and so," and he'll be like, "No, I don't want to do it." Like, "No, go shoe check so and so," and he'll go and do it. Guy like Zach Smith was willing to do it all the time voluntarily because he enjoyed it. So that made him a bit of a psychopath. But I really respected that. It showed that he had the courage to do it for the greater good. It got a laugh and a rise out of the group. I'm all for that.
So what happens if you get caught trying to shoe check someone?
Well, typically if the guy's on the floor on his knees underneath the table where there's like a tablecloth, you're very vulnerable there. So, I mean, if it's me, I'm going to grab any drink in front of me. It could be a glass of wine. I don't care. And I'm dumping it on you, but everyone handles it differently. Typically guys aren't aware, like unless you're selling a guy out, you're making a rookie go underneath and then you're going to let him know, which I don't think really ever happens. You're usually going to get away with it.
Tough. All right. Well, when Craig and I and you go out for dinner next time, I'll be making sure to
so you can't do it with three guys. It doesn't work. You'll have to go get a random table or something. And then we all just start clanking our glasses.
We'll invite all our viewers. All right. That's it. So we're going to wrap this one up and we'll be back on Thursday. Thank you again to our sponsors, Sports Interaction and BEI and Whitewater. See you next time, everybody.